online feud between rappers Kodak Black and Jackboy is now being blamed for bullets flying in Sanford.
I guess the beef started, I was in prison when the beef started. I was in prison in Virginia, and I guess burnt the boxes or some shit. That's how the beef started. Like, burnt your boxes, that ain't my merch.
Before I do anything to harm you, I give you the knife to stab me in my back again. Cause I love you, little nigga. I never do anything to harm you.
When Kodak Black and Jackboy went from close friends to bitter rivals, their feud didn't stay in the music. It spilled into the streets, fueling one of 48's bloodiest gang wars. So, what made Kodak Black and Jackboy's brotherhood fall apart? Was it about loyalty, betrayal, or that green?
I guess the beef started, I was in prison when the beef started. I was in prison in Virginia, and I guess burnt the boxes or some shit. That's how the beef started. Like, burnt your boxes, that ain't my merch.
How did their beef spark a bloody ambush outside Jackboy's show that left an innocent woman dead?
And the shooting happened after a concert here at the Barn last year, and this woman was.
And what's up with Kodak's wild behavior? From drug scandals to public meltdowns, is Yak spiraling out of control?
You try to blackball me, now you're smoking crack. One thing about the voodoo lit now, I ain't even gonna play like that.
This rap beef has led to a lot of bitterness, with Florida's streets caught in the gang violence that followed. With how this is going, the question now is whether these two can actually squash this before it gets even bloodier. Kodak Black and Jackboy weren't just two kids who happened to know each other. They were practically brothers, raised in the same trenches of the Golden Acres projects in Pompano Beach, Florida. Golden Acres wasn't just a neighborhood, it was the kind of place that tested you early, where every choice felt like survival. For Kodak and Jackboy, it was more than a home. It was their proving ground. These two grew up side by side, running through the same streets, learning the same hustles, and dreaming about making it big. Even as kids, you could see the hustle in Kodak. By the time he was 12, Kodak had already started the Brutal Young'uns crew, rapping about the life they lived and the struggles they faced. But while Kodak was spitting bars and figuring out how to turn his pain into music, Jackboy was on a different path. Jackboy got caught up in the system early, landing himself a 4-year stretch in juvenile detention. In a way, it wasn't surprising. Life in Golden Acres could chew you up and spit you out if you weren't careful. But while Jackboy was locked up, something stood out. A lot of people in his life fell back, but Kodak didn't forget about him. While most folks would have moved on, Kodak made sure Jackboy knew someone had his back. We're talking letters, visits, and even money. And let's not forget, Kodak wasn't exactly balling at that time. He wasn't famous yet. He was just a kid grinding in the studio and hustling in the streets. But Yak still found ways to look out for Jackboy, even when times were tough. Jackboy's mom once said that outside of her, Kodak was the only one who cared enough to hold her son down while he was locked up. That's loyalty you don't forget. When Jackboy finally came home, it wasn't just a reunion. It was like Kodak had been waiting for this moment to put his boy on. By then, Kodak was already buzzing. The turning point came when Drake, a whole global superstar, posted a video of himself vibing to Kodak's song Skirt. That cosign took Kodak from a local talent to someone the industry couldn't ignore. Not long after, Kodak signed a major deal with Atlantic Records. But Kodak wasn't about to leave his people behind. With his newfound fame, he founded Sniper Gang, a label that was as much about business as it was about putting his crew on the map. And who did Kodak sign first? Jackboy. That's the kind of move that tells you everything about their bond. Kodak could have signed anyone, but he made sure Jackboy had a seat at the table. Jackboy didn't take that opportunity lightly either. He became the face of Sniper Gang, especially when Kodak ended up back behind bars. While Kodak was locked up, Jackboy held it down for the label, dropping music and keeping Sniper Gang's name alive in the streets and the industry. At that point, it wasn't just about music, it was about family. For the fans, it was inspiring. It felt like they were watching two brothers rise together, showing the world that no matter where you start, you can make it if you stay solid. But, as we know, every great story has its twist. For Kodak and Jackboy, the foundation they built on loyalty and shared struggles would soon be tested in ways nobody could have seen coming. From the projects to the charts, they've proven they could rise above the odds. But what happens when the people you trust the most start moving differently? The cracks started to show in 2021. when Kodak got out of prison after being pardoned by Donald Trump. It should have been a moment of celebration, but instead, it marked the beginning of the end. According to the streets, Kodak started beefing with Jackboy when he got out of jail because Jackboy had signed a major deal with Empire Records while Kodak was locked up. That move didn't sit right with Kodak, and when he touched down, the tension hit the roof. You see, when it comes to Kodak Black, subtlety ain't part of the playbook. If he feels disrespected, you're gonna know. Period. And when the beef with Jackboy reached its boiling point, Kodak made sure everyone, from the streets to the gram, got the message. His move? One of the most outrageous flexes the rap game has ever seen. Picture this: Kodak Black standing on a boat, staring out at the open ocean, holding stacks of cash. Next thing you know, he's throwing $100K straight into the water like it's trash. If that wasn't enough to turn heads, he followed it up with a video of himself flushing more money down the toilet. Now, this wasn't just Kodak showing off. It was a statement. In his eyes, Jackboy's money wasn't worth a dime. Kodak was saying loud and clear, "I don't need your bread. I don't need you." To some fans, it was a boss move, a way to show that he's so far up, money's nothing to him. But to others, man, they called it reckless, wasteful, even embarrassing. The streets and social media lit up with debates about whether Kodak had lost his mind or was playing chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers. But while Kodak was out here making waves, literally, Jackboy wasn't just sitting back watching. He came at Kodak with receipts of his own, accusing him of playing dirty behind the scenes. Jackboy took to IG Live to clear his name, saying he tried to give Kodak $300K, but Kodak wasn't having it. "I got 300 racks for you." And this effing N got the audacity to say, "That ain't enough." Jackboy clapped back. "What, you running out of money? 300K ain't enough." Jackboy explained that he thought he had more time to stack up the full million Kodak expected since Yak was supposed to be locked up for 4 years. When Kodak had got out after just 2 years, Jackboy didn't have the full bag ready, but still tried to make sure Yak was straight. The situation only got messier from there. Kodak started claiming Jackboy was trying to sue him, and Jackboy wasn't shy about clapping back. He called Kodak fake, accusing him of posting online about missing him while acting completely different behind the scenes. Jackboy said Kodak was playing two sides, showing love in public but keeping the beef alive in private. Kodak addressed it all in March 2022, saying he didn't know how things between him and Jackboy would pan out. He still had love for him though. "I love that little ninja, man," Kodak said. "I would have never opened my platform up to you if it wasn't on love. I gave him the chance to shine with me." But Jackboy wasn't buying it. A few months later, he sat down with DJ Academics and broke that down the drama from his perspective. According to Jackboy, the beef might have started while he was locked up in Virginia.
I've been saluted you a million times, but it's like, damn, ain't no, you come home like, damn, little bro, you ripped that, like you did something. Then I signed for $2,500. I ain't getting no money from that.
Then there was the contract drama. Jackboy admitted he signed his first deal with Kodak without reading it, trusting that Yak had his back. "Man, the contract said $2,500, Jackboy revealed. "My dumb ain't read a word, didn't ask for a lawyer. I just signed because I thought, this my end, I'm good." But as he got older, Jackboy realized how bad he got played. Now Jackboy's making his own millions and feels like Kodak should be proud of him instead of beefing. "You should be happy for a ninja," Jackboy said. "You know we came from $0. You know the struggle, so why hate? That jealousy's real though. I see it, I know it." The beef spilled into the music too. Kodak dropped Super Gremlin, taking direct shots at Jackboy. "We could have been superstars. Remember when we was jacking cars? Now it's not safe for you. You switched like a P, Lil B."
Remember when we were jacking cars?
Jackboy fired back with a remix of Jay-Z's Renegade, throwing Kodak under the bus. "And if you and your lil gang, I've been a thug, you just doing it for the fame. Lame with a name, you ain't Z, you bought your way in."
Mama seeing me on the news, went to prison twice, learned to fight and sharpen.
There were rumors that Kodak even blocked Jackboy from performing at Rolling Loud after they started beefing, and Jackboy aired it out and rapped. "Had to counter sue. You trying to block motion, want me to be signed to you. Told Rolling Loud, y'all let him come then. I'm not gonna be coming through a hating on my success, hoping that people don't go and work with me." Then he went after Kodak, for playing his own artist and said, "You been a B, you tried to pull stunts with Wham and Wiz. You the only N I know that get mad when they artists say, lit you the only N faking acting like you about to spin, you're all a federal agent protected by the president." This is where things turned real. See, rap beefs can get messy, but when the streets get involved, that's a whole different level. For Kodak Black and Jackboy, the tension between them wasn't just about diss tracks and IG lives anymore, it spilled out into something deadly. At the time, Jackboy put $2 million on the line, challenging Kodak to a boxing match. He said he'd hop in the ring with Yak for the cash, but the fight never went down. Fans thought maybe the drama was dying out, but they were dead wrong. In January 2023, Jackboy nearly lost his life. On January 16th, 2023, Jackboy performed a show in Sanford, Florida at a spot called The Barn. The show went down without any drama, but Jackboy had no idea that a huge crew of shooters were waiting to catch him outside. After the show, 6 vehicles full of dudes from a Florida gang called On Top Forever, or OTF, pulled up and started letting off shots into the Sprinter van they thought Jackboy was riding in. They were using high-powered rifles with armor-piercing rounds to make sure they got the job done, but it turns out they hit up the wrong van. The van they shot up was just full of innocent people who didn't have any connection to Jackboy. 6 of them got hit, and 1 woman was tragically offed. About a year after the shooting, news broke that the cops thought it was related to Kodak and Jackboy's beef. At first, people in the news were trying to tie Kodak to the shooting and made it sound like he might have put a bag on Jackboy's head. But that's not how it went down, according to the cops. The likely motive for the incident stemmed from a very public, high-profile dispute playing out on social media and in the court system involving Jackboy and a known associate of the shooters, another rap artist, Bill Capri, known by the stage name Kodak Black. Police think they were trying to get some clout by offing Jackboy, but instead, an innocent woman ended up dead. Jackboy told Angela Yee in an interview that he got in touch with the woman's family, and the whole situation had a big effect on him.
I felt it. Like, that was the first time, like, not even for a friend or some, like, people I know, like, I ain't never felt it before. Like, damn, life.
Yeah.
But that time, it was like, damn, somebody died. It was like,
Yeah.
Jackboy said that growing up, he got used to people getting shot and offed. But talking to the woman's dad made him realize how tragic the whole thing was. And it was the first time he felt really bad about someone he didn't know dying. That wasn't the only time someone tried to take Jackboy out, though. In December 2023, someone pulled up to Jackboy's crib and shot a dude 3 times who was standing outside. When the shooting went down, rumors were flying that Jackboy had been hit and was in critical condition, but then Jackboy hopped online immediately to let everyone know the story was false. After the news broke that Jackboy was okay, everyone started saying that his brother was the one who got shot and had to be airlifted to the hospital, but nobody really knows who the victim was. Cops say Jackboy was the target, and they ended up booking 2 dudes for the shooting. It's not clear why they wanted to off Jackboy, but it was a wild hit because they slid into a gated community to get at him, even though there were cameras everywhere. From there, one thing was clear: the friendship was done. Now, let's talk about Wiz the Wizard, the glue that could have held Kodak and Jackboy together, but instead became another reason for the divide. Wiz was more than just a mutual friend, he was family to both of them. Coming from the same streets in Florida, Wiz the Wizard was part of that sniper gang DNA. But when Wiz was found dead in September 20, the streets were left with more questions than answers. The dude was discovered lifeless in front of a home in Hallandale Beach, with rumors flying faster than bullets. Was it gang-related? A setup? Nobody knew for sure, but one thing was clear: it rocked Kodak and Jackboy to their core.
This is the home where that man was found, but there are still a lot of questions left to be answered here. Namely, why did this happen, and where was this man?
For a hot second, it looked like this tragedy might have been enough to squash the beef. Kodak reached out, probably realizing that life's too short for petty fights, especially when someone they both cared about was gone. Maybe Wiz's death reminded him of all the good times, those early days in the trenches before fame and money turned friends into enemies. And Jackboy? He seemed open to the idea of patching things up, but let's be real, the wounds ran deep. You don't just bounce back from public diss tracks, accusations, and years of simmering tension overnight. Still, for a moment, fans hoped this could be the turning point, the moment where 2 Florida giants put their pride aside and remembered the bond that started it all. But nah, that peace didn't last. It was like pouring water on a grease fire. It only made things worse. Instead of letting Wiz's death bring them closer, the beef escalated to new heights. Jackboy started throwing more shade, claiming Kodak was jealous of his race. And Kodak, he wasn't about to let anyone, especially Jackboy, think he was getting outshined.
I guess the beef started, I was in prison when the beef started. I was in prison in Virginia, and I guess burnt the boxes or some shit. That's how the beef started. Like, burnt your boxes.
What's wild is how this missed reconciliation wasn't just about Kodak and Jackboy. Wiz's death symbolized everything that was broken between them. They couldn't even come together to honor their fallen brother without letting ego and pride get in the way. It wasn't about loyalty anymore. It was about who could one up the other, who could come out on top. This chapter in their beef hits different because it shows how far they drifted from where they started. Back in the day, these two would have gone to war for each other, no questions asked. But now, they couldn't even find common ground over the death of someone they both loved. Instead of a truce, Wiz the Wizard's death became another marker in their timeline of destruction. So, where does this leave them now? Kodak and Jackboy aren't just beefing as artists, they're beefing as former brothers. The streets, the contracts, and the money have all played their part. But at the heart of it, this is a story about loyalty gone wrong. Is peace possible? Maybe, but with blood spilled and lives lost, the road to reconciliation would be long and dangerous.